The Rough Country Black Series LED ditch light kit that we have here today will be a great way for 21 and newer Bronco owners to get some affordable auxiliary lighting on their rig while including some nice little extras at the same time. Now this kit will include a pair of the Black Series 3-inch cube lights with that 30-degree spot pattern, all of your wiring and switches needed for the install, and of course your brackets and covers for right around that low $100 price point. Install is going to get a solid 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter here, at least according to the site. I would say take an hour or so from start to finish, as we'll demonstrate later in the video. So this is one of a few ditch light kits available for the 6th gen Bronco, at least at the time of this video, and certainly one of the most affordable. Now, if you didn't know, the ditch light designation signifies the cowl accessory ready position near the rear or side view mirrors, which thanks to Ford is a great and easy place to throw some additional lighting, and the best part is without needing to do any drilling. And this kit, of course, as we mentioned earlier, does include the brackets needed to thread right in, making for a very simple install. Now, this particular kit from Rough Country does include 2 of their 3-inch Black Series cubes, loaded with 6 3-watt Cree LEDs each, altogether pumping out over 5,700 lumens at 72 watts. Now, this kit again does feature that 30-degree spot pattern for the cubes themselves, which is really going to focus that beam of light for overall increased throw. Now, Rough Country does also offer a very similar kit to this, but instead will feature a broader flood pattern, which is going to give you more of a just blast of light all around. It's not going to give you the distance of a 30-degree spot pattern here. So ultimately, you just kind of have to weigh your options, know what's best for you and your situation, and then just make your decision accordingly. But again, if you want that flood pattern that is available here on the site, similar price point, or if you want that long distance throw of the 30-degree spot, this is going to be the kit for you. Now, those Cree LEDs have been loaded into a die-cast aluminum housing here that actually has a moisture breather system built in, and that's just gonna help keep any water or condensation from building up behind the lens over the years. And as such, they've been given a waterproof rating of an IP67. Pretty standard stuff in the auxiliary lighting world. Now, if for whatever reason you should run into any issues here, Rough Country does back their cubes with their limited 3-year warranty. But outside of the cubes themselves, this kit does also include everything needed to get them up and running on your rig and then some. Now, for starters, we are looking at the included aluminum brackets here, which again are going to make this a very seamless install for that accessory ready position next to your side mirrors. Now, along with the included brackets, you are also getting a complete braided wiring harness here, which does feature an inline fuse and switch, and will be a great option for the Bronco owners who might have missed out on that factory upfitter or auxiliary switches. Now, if you do have those factory switches installed in your Bronco, basically right above where your map lights are, well, then you'll appreciate the wiring, but you don't necessarily have to use the fuse or the switch. Instead, just wire them into the firewall location where Ford hooks you up with all those wires ready to go. Last but not least, guys, the Rough Country kit does include some of the covers here, and I always like pointing these out, especially lately, guys, because these are becoming increasingly needed with local and state inspections for auxiliary lighting. So if you have a big light bar or if you have cube lights such as this, a lot of times your local inspections nowadays will require they are covered at the time of your inspection, otherwise they might fail you. So the fact that Rough Country kicks these in here for the low price point is a nice little cherry on top. But now comes the time, guys, where we want to segue away from the product details, talk about the install a little bit more. And again, this is going to go down one of 2 different ways, right? Now, if you have the factory upfitter or auxiliary switches, well, certainly going to be a little bit easier. You're just going to terminate the wiring in the firewall area of your Bronco. Now, if you don't, well, then that's when you're going to use the entire harness from Rough Country here, including the plug-and-play stuff. There is some terminal ends here as well that will go right to your battery. Again, it's all very straightforward stuff, guys. But to give you a better idea of just how it exactly will go down, check out our detailed walkthrough now, along with a quick tool breakdown.
Tools used for this installation: 3/8 ratchet, small extension, cutting pliers, a 25 Torx, 30 Torx, Allen wrench supplied in the kit, 10mm socket, and a light. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our harness that was supplied in our ditch light kit, and we're going to install this harness. Now, to do that, we're going to remove our antenna. We're going to remove the 2 upper bolts here that hold our plastic cowl cover here on. We're going to lift that up so we can run our wiring harness underneath and up, because our ditch lights are going to mount right here on these corners. So we'll run our wiring harness over to the driver's side and then install our harness accordingly to the battery, and then run our switch inside the car. So we're going to get started by removing our antenna and taking the 2 Torx bolts out on both sides. So now I'm going to remove the antenna just by unscrewing it. Lay that out of the way. I'm going to take my Torx, my 3/8 ratchet, remove this Torx. Now we'll go to passenger side and remove the other one. Now we removed our Torx bit over the other side for our cowl cover here. We're going to remove our driver's side one. It's going to allow us to move our cowl cover out of the way so we can run our wiring harness behind it down into the engine compartment. Make for a nice wiring installation. Now we'll pop the hood, lift this up a little bit, get our wiring harness routed in on both sides, set our lights here, and then I'll show you how to mount the lights. So now that we have our cowl bolt out, I lifted up on our cowl piece here just to get it up so that we can get our harness. I'm going to fish the harness from the light down through here and get it behind the cowl piece. And then you're able to get your hand in here and feel the harness, and I pulled it through the panel there. And when we get this down in here, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we can put our cowl piece back down in. It'll get pushed down in. Our light's going to mount right there, so you want to make sure you don't have too much excessive wiring hanging out. And what we'll do is we'll put our cowl piece back on, and then we'll start removing this bolt here where we're going to mount our bracket to hold our light. Now we're going to just tuck our wire down inside here, push our cowl piece back down, make sure our wire's really not that pinched. I still can move it. That seems like it's okay right there. Like again, our light's going to mount there. So now I'm going to reinstall our bolt that holds the cowl piece in. Make sure it's pushed down. And now you're going to want to repeat the same procedure on the other side. So now we have our bolt back in for our cowl panel. We're going to remove our outer Torx here. And this is where we're going to mount our bracket. So with this kit, they're going to give you this plastic spacer, which is going to sit in there just like that. And that's what we're going to use so that when we get our bracket, we're able to sit our bracket on. We're going to end up taking our lock washer and our flat washer. And you want to try to position your light where you think you're going to want it for now. It's going to be able to be moved. And then you're going to want to tighten this back down. We get it good and snug so that way it doesn't move around too much. But you also got to make sure that you still can turn it and move it and adjust it. I like that, it's pretty good right there. I'm going to hold that there. Now we're going to mount our light. So now that we have our bracket mounted, we're going to slide our light down over top. Take my light and line the hole up on the side. And I'm going to take the Allen head that was supplied in the Allen wrench. And get it started. And do the same on the other side. Get my light where I want it. Now I left it semi-snug so that I can adjust the light and move it around. So now the light is mounted and you'll be able to move it and turn it and adjust it. So now we have that done. We're going to go on to hooking our wiring harness up. You're going to want to repeat this same procedure on the other side. So next we're going to start with our wiring harness. We have a hot and a ground wire that's coming off of this that's fused, and we have a relay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install our hot and ground wire. First thing I'm going to do is loosen up one of the connections here on our battery. Install our hot connection. And I'm going to loosen a ground up. So now we got our hot and ground installed. Let's snug that up. So now they give you a relay with this kit. Now on our vehicle we're not going to drill into it, but on your vehicle, if you wanted to mount your relay, you could get a self-tapper. You could drill right there. That's a nice spot for it. And that would make for a very nice place to put your relay. Now we're going to run our wires to our lights and run our wire into our dash to turn it on and off. So now what I'm going to do is run our wires. I'm going to take some wire ties. These didn't come in the kit, but just put some wire ties. It makes the installation nice. Now we're going to fish one of our wires for the light connection over to the other side, and we'll run that along the top of the firewall. You can even tuck it under the plastic if you want. The plastic's pretty, has a little bit of an area there where you can actually get the harness underneath. So it's out of the way, and we'll finish it on the other side there. And then we will bring this wire. So now what we're going to do is we're going to connect our light connector. Okay, and I'm going to take the excess wire, coil it back up. It's not hanging down. Take one of our wire ties. And that'll hang like that. Again, it just makes for a nicer, cleaner installation. You don't have a bunch of wires just hanging. Next, we're going to pull this plug out down in here. And what I already did to this plug was I already cut some slots in it to feed our connector through for our on and off switch. So I'm going to bring that and unplug it. So I already cut some holes in this grommet. I'm going to push the connector through. And I'm I'm gonna feed the excess wire inside the vehicle. I'm gonna push the connector through the hole. Push the ground back in where it was. And again, it makes for a nicer, cleaner installation. Now we're gonna finish the connector on the other side, and then we'll go under the dash. So now we're gonna tuck our passenger side harness up. Like I said, I'm gonna just tuck it underneath our plastic cover here. I think that's makes it look pretty nice. I'm going to plug our light in. Now with the rest, the extra, I'm just going to do exactly what I did on the other side, which is I'm going to coil it up, take one of my wire ties, now that we got our wiring harness in, our lights hooked up, we're going to go underneath our dash, hook up our on and off switch. So now we have our wire passed through our passenger compartment. On the back there's some adhesive. What I'm going to do, I think I'm going to mount it right there, push up on it. I'm going to run the wire down underneath here like this. I'm going to tie it up, the extra wire. I'll be able to tuck it up in there after I put my wire tie on it. I'll tuck it up underneath the dash so it holds it in place. Straighten my wire out. And that wraps up our installation. That wraps up our review and install of our Rough Country Black Series LED ditch lights spot lens for 21 to 22 Broncos. Thanks for watching, and for all things Bronco, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.